This morning's Bible reading from John 11, it is rich. Tom, so full of human emotion, death, mourning, tears, stench, resurrection, and freedom. And any one of those would make for a deep and moving discussion. Any of those could probably provide the basis for a sermon. And this week, with the shortest verse in the Bible and the longest reading we've ever had, it's about the tears. Tears are a part of everyone's life. In John 11, tears are part of Jesus' life. There are many tears in the Bible. Hagar cried as she thought she and her son Ishmael were going to die in the wilderness. That's in Genesis 21. God saw King Hezekiah's tears, and he healed him. That's in 2 Kings 20. Job, as his friends scorned him, poured out tears to God in Job 16. King David wrote about his tears in the Psalms, 6:42 at least. Paul cried for the churches that he wrote to, 2 Corinthians 2. Another psalmist showed how tears are so common to the human condition. The psalmist says, "Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord." That's in Psalm 130. There are more sad expressions in other psalms, like Psalm 22, 88, 51, 143. That's not all of them, but that's some of them. Mary and Martha cried over their brother Lazarus. And then, in really the shortest verse in the Bible, depending on the translation you're reading, Jesus was overcome with grief at the death of his friend Lazarus. John 11:35. In the New Revised Standard Version, the updated edition, it says, Jesus began to weep. In the King James Version, it just says, Jesus wept. Lazarus was dead. He had been dead for 4 days, long enough to truly be considered dead. Do you know that 4 days is enough to be dead? So for the time, the burial place was to be checked every day for 3 days to make sure that the person was really dead. Rabbi Bar Kapara, a Palestinian Jewish rabbi from the 1st and 2nd centuries CE, included this in his teachings. The whole strength of the mourning is not till the 3rd day. For 3 days long, the soul returns to the grave, thinking that it will return. When, however, it sees that the color of its face has changed, then it goes away and leaves it. So Lazarus was all dead. Not just mostly dead, to borrow a phrase from The Princess Bride, from Miracle Max. He was all dead. When you're mostly dead, that means slightly alive. But when you're all dead, what is it to do? What is the thing to do? Do you remember from the movie? You just go through their pockets and look for loose change. That's what Miracle Max said. So Lazarus was all dead. Mary and Martha were wailing. They were in the mourning process, sitting Shiva, 7 days of mourning that comes right after the burial. During that time, there were many practices that Mary and Martha went through to honor Lazarus and to mourn his death. So there is no work, no leather shoes, no sex, no learning from the Torah, apart from learning mourning rules. Reciting Psalms or reading books from Job and Lamentations were okay. No greeting anyone with a hello or a goodbye. After 3 days, they could respond. No clean clothes, no haircuts, and then no joyful events for 30 days. So Mary and Martha were following Shiva. They were wailing. And Jesus saw that, and he was overcome with tears himself. Why, if he knew that he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead, would Jesus cry? Why would it not be a joyful occasion? I think that Jesus saw and felt the pain that Mary and Martha and Lazarus' friends felt. Verse 33 says that Jesus was greatly disturbed and moved. And the tears weren't just a short-lived thing. After the rich verse that simply says Jesus wept, or Jesus began to weep, or Jesus cried, or tears came to Jesus' eye, depending on which translation you read, Jesus again was moved and disturbed as people asked out loud, why didn't he heal him? Maybe there was anger, deep anguish, maybe an emotional outburst. Whatever it was, it wouldn't stay inside. Jesus' tears flowed over the death of his friend. Over the last close to 30 years or more, I've led hundreds of memorial services. Some are for people that I've known, and those are so difficult. Some are for people I grew up with. Some are for people I had barely met or hadn't met at all. And in all of them, I have been moved. All of them, every single one. Sometimes it's a lump in my throat, often to tears. I sense and become part of the emotions of everyone gathered. I cry in solidarity with those gathered. In the same way, we are often overcome with emotions. Some for obvious reasons, other times not so obvious reasons. And we cry. We get a lump in our throat. Jesus was overcome with the scene with Mary, Martha, and Lazarus' friends. So Jesus understood weeping. Jesus understands weeping. We're not alone in our anguish. God knows our tears. We can understand that and take comfort in our most painful times. But we can also learn from Jesus' tears when we're in a position to comfort others who are in pain. We can be present to cry with those who are crying. We can be silent and listen to those who are crying. We can be encouraging and remind those who are crying that it's all right to grieve. Not that it's going to be okay, not a pat on the back that says, okay, get over it. No, we can be present and remind people who are crying that it's all right to cry. We can be in solidarity, as Jesus was in solidarity with Mary and Martha and Lazarus' friends. We can weep over war in Iran, in Palestine, in Sudan, in Ukraine, in Myanmar, in Ethiopia, Niger, in Venezuela, in Russia, in Israel, in the Straits of Hormuz. And we can do more than weep. We can continue to work for a just world for all, but we can weep. And we can also be encouraged and over time live our lives experiencing and sharing Jesus' words of hope in the worst of times. I am the resurrection and the life. All who believe in me will live a new life. I am the resurrection and the life. All who believe in me will never die. Jesus says in John 11, even though they die, they will live. Today, we're celebrating a great weekend. There's all kinds of cool things going on. But also, we are living in a time in the world where we're in deep anguish. And some people might be in deep anguish for a lot of different reasons. The tears might be just below the surface, just ready to come out. Some might be held back, and I don't want to cry. It's all right to cry. We have Kleenex in the pews every week because it's all right to cry. Just don't want you to get tear stains all over everything. That's why there's Kleenex. It's all right to lean on a friend for support. It's all right to talk about the pain. It's all right to be angry. It's all right not to be okay at all. I know that this day some here don't feel any tears. Everything's going great. There's no tears underneath the surface. There's nothing welling up. You see a sad movie and you don't even cry at that, right? There's people who have that emotional state. So it's all right not to cry. It's all right to offer a shoulder. It's all right to listen. It's all right to simply be present. We can hold on to Jesus' tears. They can transform our understanding of who Jesus is. And we can experience God's unending mercy and compassion as we remember those two simple words, words of solidarity Jesus has with us, that Jesus had with Mary and Martha and Lazarus' friends. Jesus wept. Amen.